Hey there, this is Jaren, the creator of SourceScape. SourceScape helps you extract information from your codebase. It's like SQL for source code. You write queries that you can then use for code checks, generating reports, really any situation where you need to answer some deep questions about your codebase. Let's take a look at the query interface. It's like a text editor where you can just start writing code. As you write, SourceScape will suggest possible code blocks to add to your query. You hit enter or click them to add them. As you make changes, the results will update to reflect the new constraints. So let's try out a few things. This is finding all identifiers named test. An identifier is a variable or a reference to a variable. This is finding all strings with the value test. You can also query for specific syntax structures. For example, classes, functions, if statements, or even React elements. When you make multiple queries, there are multiple result sets, which you can navigate between by selecting the query you want using the hover menu. You can also delete queries from the hover menu. You may notice that the query structures have sections that you can type in. Here you can add additional constraints for your query. The query is an interactive way for you to build up a code analysis, and these constraints work as you would expect them to. Right now, we're finding all classes that extend React component with a render method that returns a div with style text-align center. Just as you can add constraints incrementally, you can also remove them incrementally. Extending from React component is a bit superfluous since we already require a render method. We also want to take into consideration other component classes like pure component. Let's go ahead and delete that constraint. Let's also delete the style attribute constraint and unset the div name. Now we're simply getting all classes with a render method that returns a React element of any kind. And from here we can add back constraints as well. So let's set the React element tag to pre. So a query is a set of constraints, and the results are a trace that allow you to navigate between different parts of the query. Here we can select the class, the method, the return, or the React element. SourceScape queries also support internal references. To see what I mean, let's search for a structure that may be familiar to you if you've worked with server-side JavaScript. The error here is referring to the argument of the function instead of creating a new identifier. Same here, and same with res here. Also note that the function argument names don't really matter. They're just aliases for an argument at that position. Error here is just called E, and here res is called results. This query is 100% searching just using the structure of the code. So this has been a brief overview of the querying features of SourceScape. In the next video, let's dive into reports and some real-life use cases.